Welcome back to Twitch and Box Sports Talk, State of the Teams. This week we don't have LSV with us, so the Chiefs, State of the Chiefs will be done by me and Twitch. But we're gonna roll it off. We'll let Twitch start it out here. What is the state of the Steelers after getting a primetime win over the Miami Dolphins?
Well, for Mr. Normal Doom and Gloom, like I said earlier, like Rodgers over the last 2 weeks playing his best two games probably since he was a Packer. But Steelers on a 2-game winning streak, and one of those wins coming against Baltimore, so 8-6 in the driver's seat of the AFC North. Have the Lions coming up. They got the Cleveland next week, and then they finish off the year at home against the Ravens. So I happen to think if they win, I mean, we were talking about playoff pushes, but with the Texans at 9-5, probably about to go 10-5, and the Chargers, and their only spot to make it through the playoffs, realistically, in my opinion, is to win the division. So it's going to be, they got a tough one this week, and so really going to have to take care of Cleveland. I mean, even if they lose the next two games, they still will probably control their own destiny, assuming if the Ravens lose one of those two games. But everything's out in front of them. They control their own destiny. Kenneth Gainwell, Jaylen Warren continue to make plays out of the backfield. Adds, I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, so I feel like Gainwell adds something, brings something to that offense. I said, but the whole big thing has been the tight ends or the number 2 receiver, and so Scantling getting involved a couple times yesterday, including the touchdown. Although being 2-0 with Thielen, we haven't seen Thielen really incorporated in the offense very much. But Pat Freiermuth, I'd still like to see him get the ball. I don't feel like we've used him correctly at all. But Jonnu Smith with the rushing touchdown around the end. Connor Hayward getting a touchdown up close. And Pittsburgh's had a lot of success. They talked about it on the podcast. But a lot of success this year. If anything, doing a Philadelphia-style push with either Hayward or Darnell Jackson. I don't know why they don't just give it to Darnell Jackson himself.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what I'm getting at is, like, good balance on offense. Rodgers not turning the ball over, very efficient. I think he was 22 of 26 or 27 yesterday for, like, 225. They were up big, so they kind of took him out early in the fourth quarter and allowed a couple of garbage time touchdowns. But really interested to see, like, and like I said, I've been a Steelers fan my whole life, and one of my favorite Steelers of all time is T.J. Watt, but T.J. Watt has not been himself this year, and on top of being healthy, so it'll be interesting to see what he comes back with the lung injury that we didn't get to report on last week because we didn't know it happened late last week.
Yeah, it happened Wednesday night.
Yeah,
which
so
is crazy.
It'll be interesting because I feel like they need him for the playoff. If they make the playoffs, they need him for the playoff push. But the defense showing up yesterday with 3 sacks, and granted, again, I'm not going to make too much of it because it's Miami, who's been a lot better. But state of the Steelers, like I said, it was nice to see them have success running the football, and first time in, I think it was 7 years, or maybe it was just 5, but where they scored on 4 touchdowns on 4 straight drives. So Aaron Rodgers looking efficient. I mean, it went from a 3-0 game with about 5 minutes to go before halftime, which was about to be the thing to make me twitch this week, to against a Dolphins team that's all but out of it. To, like I said, then they scored 4 straight touchdowns, so that couldn't really be the old curmudgeon Scrooge this week. So state of the Steelers, showing signs of life on offense. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. It's nice to see. It's possible with that kind of play. If they get Watt back and with that kind of defensive performance, Joey Porter Jr. continues to be a lockdown corner. Taking Waddle out of the game yesterday, so goes with his 6-game stretch of like allowing like 50 yards receiving and like 5 or 6 catches. I mean, he's been on an incredible run. People might not realize. I said, but I mean, they can control their own destiny. I don't think they win this week. I think they'll be playing all the way until game 17. But it was nice to see them, the 1-2 punch between Hayward, who makes plays every week, and Gainwell, who seems to get first downs, make key contributions. He's not a guy that's going to usually light up the stat book, but see the 1-2 punch out of the running backs on top of getting all 3 tight ends, Freiermuth, Smith with the touchdown, Darnell Washington making some nice plays. That was probably my favorite play of the game, was the one where it took 6 Dolphins to bring him down. It was like a 5-yard gain, but some good things still. I mean, I said on offense, and like they said, they control their own destiny. So we'll see. It's a big game this week. I don't have them winning just because I don't feel like that offensive firepower carries over enough, but they're the favorites. Yesterday, especially after the Dolphins game, Pittsburgh right now is 61% chance by the ESPN playoff index to make the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean they know that maybe it might not even. I think it'll come down to that Week 18 showdown, but they know that if they get one more game, there's still a pretty good chance because they said even with Baltimore only being back a game, they play the Patriots and then they play the Packers next week at Lambeau. So really put the pressure. If they can somehow find a way to squeak out a win, then I feel like it's still Pittsburgh's division to lose. And even me being a pessimist, I still feel like I'm gonna change my answer even with the Ravens. I feel like I feel like the Ravens will lose one of those next two games, and then we should beat the Browns. But again, those are the games that I counted them out last week. On the flip side of that, when it's games like, oh, they got the season to play for, watch them lose to Cleveland. But yeah, leaders of the AFC North, 8-6, control their own destiny. Big game this week. Sure would go a long way if they can win this game. Because it'd be great because, I mean, they're not, like I said, they're not going to probably catch the Texans who are probably going to be 10-5 or the Chargers if they're 11-4. So their best spot of making the playoffs is, or maybe their only spot is winning the division. And if they can somehow squeak out a win this week and Baltimore lose and then they go into Cleveland, then they might even be able to, and that's wishful thinking because I don't think it's going to happen. But they upset Detroit and beat Cleveland. You get 10 wins, they win the division. They might even be able to, even with only 10 wins, be able to rest their starters because they're not going to be able to improve their playoff positioning. Yeah. So.
Rolling into the state of the Broncos here, 12-2, get a huge win over the Green Bay Packers. Bo Nix, that offense started clicking. Bo Nix, 302 yards passing. We had 15 first downs. Time of possession was pretty even throughout the game. We shored up the penalties from the week before when they had 6 there. But I think the biggest stat in here, besides the score, is our red zone efficiency going 4 for 4, which was awesome. But getting that, it just feels, I don't know, feels surreal almost to be in this position right now, to be in the first overall seed. I thought we would be good, but I didn't think we would be sitting where we're at now. With that being said, got a huge matchup rolling in this week. We get the Jacksonville Jaguars coming into our house. After this, interested to see how it goes against Jacksonville. I think we get it done. Obviously, their rush defense hasn't been the best, and I mean our run game's been good. Obviously, we get kind of stuffed last week, but we were passing the ball efficiently enough. Didn't really come back to bite us. And then obviously getting the win over the Packers. I mean, last week I said this is going to be a big time measuring stick game for us to see if we're a legit contender for this playoff series or if we're, we need another year or two to get things clicking. And right now, I mean, barring any injury or anything crazy happening, I think we can make a good run here and make it to the championship game or hopefully get a first round bye and you make it to the second round automatically, but we'll see what happens. Excited. I'm no longer calling for Sean Payton's head. Last week I was emphasizing the passing chart from the Raiders game and a lot of checkdowns, not ball down the field. But then Bo Nix passing chart this week, a lot more down the field passes. Obviously, Court Sutton up the sideline and had a couple of deep balls that we missed, but just Bo Nix manipulating the pocket in perfect ways, not really looking to run like he used to and throwing the ball down the field. And we have enough of a run game to keep us there. And obviously our defense is lights out. Patrick Surtain, Riley Moss, cornerback 1 and 2 getting picks there.
Huff.
Yeah. Huff. His stats didn't really show how well he played. He seemed to be around every single tackle. He was all over the field. Same thing with Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw mixing up with the Packers before the game. Getting an altercation on our sideline, talking shit because why not? And then leading the team in tackles in that game was also great. And then obviously not having a sack until the third quarter, and then getting another 2 in the fourth, and those, you might not get sacks the whole game, but getting sacks to seal the game like we did. And Zach Allen still leads the NFL in QB pressures. And, he's not on that top 5 or top 10 sack list right now, but he's in there almost every play, making the quarterback move, manipulate the pocket. So I'm excited to see what we do against the Jaguars. Obviously, Jaguars' run game's been good, and Josh Jacobs had success against us early, but then we kind of shut him down late. So I think we can do the same to ETN and get after Lawrence. across the board. But I'm excited to see how it goes. Either way, excited just for the stretch here. Rolling into the state of the Chiefs here. Chiefs are officially eliminated from the playoffs, losing to the Chargers. Mahomes down with an ACL injury. So that'll be interesting to see what his timetable looks back. He had surgery yesterday. He had surgery on the 15th of December, so it's usually about a 6-month injury. So that'll put him right on the doorstep of getting back for the playoffs or start of the season next year. Not the playoffs, start of the season next year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Obviously, probably in my opinion, it's probably the last game we see Kelsey in a Chiefs jersey. Unless he takes a giant pay cut next year and just wants to stick around for the love of the game. But I think he has enough stuff going on outside of his life. I think he's going to hang him up after the season's over here. I think, obviously, this is the end of a dynastic run. I don't think the dynasty is over, but I think this is kind of like a rephasing, you could say. And this has really stuck with me throughout the season. But LSV early on said, it's kind of cheesy, but they say in Veach we trust. You Veach, their GM, to get stuff right and get them set. And I think right now, as if you're a Chiefs fan out there, that's all you're thinking yourself is in Veach we trust. Think him to get right. Obviously, you don't have your quarterback for the offseason, so if that means if Minshew plays good throughout these last 3 games, you re-sign him, keep him around, or you do whatever down the stretch. But I'm excited to see what the Chiefs do next year. Obviously, they're in division, so I don't want them to look good, but I think they will because you have Patrick Mahomes still. You still have Andy Reid. Losing TK will be huge, but it'll be interesting to see what the Chiefs look like next year and how they reform this team for sure.
Yeah.
Got him.
Yeah. No, it's just I don't feel like the dynasty's over. They'll reload, and they said they have done really well. Besides, for all the credit of picking up free agents and Mahomes and Kelsey in that dynasty and making it to 5 out of 7 Super Bowls and stuff. It's crazy. I don't feel like obviously Mahomes is done. I think this will just motivate him even more. Just to him, there's no shame, but to him, the embarrassment of not making the playoffs at all, and at whatever the Chiefs were last year, 11-1 or whatever, 10-1, for all those close games. It's a game of inches. As corny as that sounds, cliche as that sounds in the NFL, but just off the top of my head, both games against the Chargers, first game against the Broncos. The Jaguars, the Eagles, the Bills. I mean, you're looking at those 8 losses. Even the Texans.
Yeah.
Texans defense completely shut them out with the second half. But my point is that I can't remember off the top of the head, it was the 8th loss for the Chiefs. But anyway, all those are 1-score games within 1 score. So it's not like any of those games Kansas City's just getting blown out. So just one of those things where it not going their way or making mistakes late or not making the clutch plays like the Houston game. That's a perfect example, a microcosm. In that, whatever they had with 4 or 5. Oh, and the Cowboys. Yeah.
On Thanksgiving.
But the Texans is a perfect example in having whatever they had 4 or 5 drop passes on late in the game. You know what I mean? Whereas years before it was guys, or Kelsey, I feel like it's uncharacteristic, but against the Eagles and the Texans, not the Texans, who was it last week? Was it the Texans last week?
The Chiefs played?
Yeah.
Chargers.
Oh, duh, yeah. No, the week before.
Oh, yeah. The Texans on Sunday Night Football.
Yes, it was where it hits him in the hand. And that's the second time this year, but I don't feel like it's because of Kelsey not being focused. A lot of people want to throw that out there. Personally, I just think I won't get too much on that side tangent, but I don't think it's a lack of skill or focus. I feel like it's just Travis Kelce's been one of the all-time best tight ends. Unlike a Rob Gronkowski, the position, he was never afraid to go in the middle and take shots.
Yeah.
That's why Mahomes felt. So I think it's just the natural age of the position. And like you said, I agree. I think this will be Kelsey's last year. I think that they'll be competitive. I think that with Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and his last stretch and Chris Jones, I feel like on the big picture that they'll regroup. They'll figure it out. Like I said, that as much as anything, getting Thornhill and getting some of these other guys, Karlaftis and they've had exceptional Pacheco. These are all homegrown guys. Veach does a pretty good job, so I feel like they'll reload. They'll figure it out. They won't lose as many one-score games next year. I think they'll figure that out. And as far as this year goes, I know Minshew, like I said, is above average backup quarterback, not lights out. But I feel like Kansas City's not with Andy Reid and the Chiefs and that organization. Even in years when they weren't very good, that's not even talking smack. But even in Romeo Crennel years where they'd go 4-12 and stuff like that. Kansas City just has too much pride as an organization. As corny as that sounds, some teams like are already booking their trip to the Bahamas. I feel like Kansas City, although it's not for a team that's been in 3 straight Super Bowls, it's can be kind of defeating. And what are we playing for when they're already out of the playoffs? But with a couple games left against divisional opponents, I feel like they'll be playing until the end. At least play spoiler and play them for pride. So that's what I feel like in the short term. But yeah, I mean. Yeah, I expect Kelsey to retire at the end of the year. I expect him to. You kind of saw at the end, even though it ended in a turnover against the Chargers, when unfortunately when he didn't have to, you saw Kelsey go over after Mahomes got hurt and pick Minshew up and make a couple plays on that drive. So I expect the leaders to step up. I expect Kansas City's defense to step up, and I think they get the win this week. Yeah, it's a weird place for Chiefs fans because they've been kind of like the Patriots were. Other teams, like they've been kind of spoiled. I said so. Shocking. We would have thought that we'd be sitting there talking about the 6-8 Chiefs. So that's the state of the Chiefs. Very disappointing. I'm sure Chiefs fans can't wait for the season to be over now. But I think that next year that they'll be just fine. They'll be even hungry because bearing anything catastrophic, I feel like Denver obviously proved that they're the real deal, and I feel like Denver with cap space is going to make more moves. I thought
only room to go up.
Right. I feel like Denver was. I thought at the beginning it was a year away, but a legit contender. But now I feel like you have 1A, 1B, where it's Denver will make improvements, and Kansas City will be right back next year, and they're actually coming in the underdog role. I feel like Denver will be. So I think the Chiefs long term will be fine, but it's going to be reloading, refiguring out the strategy. I hope that, and it's terrible because I understand that there's people that go home at the end of the day, so I'm not wishing bad on anybody, but at the same time, like I feel like I echo, not just to make him a scapegoat, but I feel like Nagy needs to go in Kansas City, and so the offense has been too sporadic and inconsistent. And definitely, and some of that has to be with personnel or offensive line play for the Chiefs this year, but no run game and predictable play calling, and I feel like Nagy needs to go at the end of the year.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what they do about the running back situation, because obviously Pacheco had a really great rookie year, and then ever since then he's been kind of hit or miss.
I think they draft a good.
I think this is kind of getting into our pregame or our postseason review of teams, what we think they need. But I wouldn't be surprised if they don't take that kid out of Notre Dame, Jeremiah Love. Yeah. Obviously, they have to trade up for him, but when you have a team that's solid in a lot of places, you can throw some draft capital in some places to move up. But I hope they don't.
They'll be drafting higher than they have the last 10 or 11 years.
Exactly. I hope they don't. Hope they draft a backup quarterback or something in the first round. That'd be nice for us Broncos fans. But that concludes Twitch and Box State of the Teams. Hope everybody has a great week. Hope LSV gets to feeling better down there in Pittsburgh. Hope everybody has a great week. We'll catch you guys next week leading into our Christmas episode. So be thinking about what you think LSV sign should say and drop it down in the comments below. We will be tailgating at Arrowhead Stadium for the Broncos-Chiefs game. So just be on the lookout and be thinking about what we should say. And if you have any good ideas, drop them down in the comments. But we appreciate everybody listening. We'll catch you guys next week.